This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Yu.
And I'm the Podfather.
And we got a special guest.
Very special.
I feel like I'm a regular now.
Yeah,
You
I know,
are,
you're
yeah.
a regular guest. Arlene Chiang.
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
Woo! How's it going?
Again.
Yeah.
Do I have to do the applause thing again?
Oh, yeah,
there?
the applause. Like, oh, yeah, the rabbit
Yeah,
fan.
okay, we'll do that. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Right.
It made me feel better.
Like,
Yeah.
when they had, like, you remember those sitcoms? They had, like, live audiences and, like, you know, they had, like, the laugh laughter.
track, like that
the laugh
70s
track.
show.
What was your favorite sitcom, Mark?
Sitcom. Oh, my God. The first one that just came to mind is like Perfect Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
Balky. Balky and
I don't even know what that is.
That's like, you might be too young for this, Brayden.
Yeah.
Who's the
Yeah, I guess
Boss?
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect
yeah.
Strangers, that era.
Right. Yeah.
Growing Pains.
You know what I just found out the other day?
We're
is
90s
that
kids.
the girl on Who's the Boss is Shannon Doherty, is it? Or
No, she's Alyssa Milano.
Oh yeah, the other
Yeah.
one from
Yeah.
Charmed.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So she was the kid, Tony Danza's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
Judith
crazy.
Light.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You know what? Like,
Now
it felt
we're
like
old.
Yeah.
This is what, when people say you're old.
Yeah, you know, it was funny because like I don't like the new music that's happening nowadays.
Yeah. I've heard you say it before. You darn kids and your rap music.
Yeah.
Right.
And even the new shows, like I'm not really a big fan of. But
Although I just watched Yellowstone.
what's that?
And
Oh man, this could be a good segue. It's about
Okay.
a family running a ranch.
Ooh.
I've heard it's basically like the Sons of Anarchy of the farm.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, so they're running a ranch.
Running a ranch. The patriarch is Kevin Costner.
Ooh.
It's in Montana.
Okay.
And it's the sibling dynamic, the family dynamic, running this huge ranch, and there's politics and city development and indigenous cultures, and
Wow.
it's a lot wrapped up into one sweet show.
Does it have anything to do with Yellowstone National Park?
No.
No? Okay, it's just like
But that's the name of the ranch is Yellowstone.
okay, the name of the ranch is
Oh,
Yellowstone.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of family business. So Arlene and I are obviously brother and sister. And how long have we been working together now for our?
Oh boy. We've been working together since I was 18. So that's
Yeah.
22 years. I'm aging myself.
Yeah.
No,
More than
uh,
half our lives.
more than
we're
half our
working
lives.
together, yeah.
More than half our lives. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I got Mike his first job at Bean Brothers Cafe as a busboy.
As a dishwasher.
Mhm.
You call it a busboy, I call it dishwasher.
Which one's more prestigious?
I think a busboy is more prestigious, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say
it's
so.
busboy.
Yeah.
There you
You
go.
know, it kind of sounds like a superhero. I'm busboy.
What's
I
his
can save
superpower?
your dishes from from stains. Yeah.
And I thought I was the corny one.
This is part of being a window into our lives. So, yeah, I thought it would be fun for us to talk a little bit about family business. You know, we've had like our whole working lives has been like kind of in that mold, right? Art?
Yeah, well, our whole upbringing has been examples of running family business. So
Yeah.
our parents, early on when we were growing up, were part of a family business,
Mhm.
and our grandparents had family businesses, and so we've heard lots of stories of how they ran and how they operated businesses with
Yeah.
their family. So yeah, I feel like it surrounds us every single day.
Yeah, you know, Arlene and I, when we grew up, actually, like, probably it's a bit traumatic. It actually like maybe discouraged us from doing family business because my dad and his brothers and sisters had a really terrible time working together.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it was until we were much older. So when we grew up in a Vancouver Special.
Yeah.
So if anybody is familiar
Yeah.
with the good old Vancouver Special, one of my favorite pieces of Vancouver architecture,
Yep.
and it's just so efficient. But our parents, the downstairs of our Vancouver Special was their office. So we grew
Yeah.
up with an office in our house.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we were used to going down, and they had secretaries, and they used to run their business out of the Vancouver Special.
Yeah, so we lived upstairs on
Yeah.
the second floor, and then on the first floor was the office of our uncle and my dad, like it was our uncle's company. My dad worked for my uncle. And so, yeah, I remember when we were kids and we would go down and play in the office.
Yeah.
We play office.
We play office, and our cousin, we'd name him Mr. Davenport. Mr. Davenport, you have a message here, and they had those pink message slips, and we'd play office in their office.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys were just destined to be in business.
I guess so. I think you grow up and you observe these things, but later on, you're a kid, you don't really kind of, you might subliminally or not subliminally like hear some of their kind of conversations, arguments, and stuff like that. So I don't know if we had the best example of family business, would you say? Yeah.
So for them, it didn't work out well. And I don't think we knew until later in life when we're older about why their family business didn't work out well. Right. So yeah. I don't know, Mike. What was our family business? What did our uncle do? Actually, started with Church's Fried Chicken, didn't it? Your favorite?
Church's Fried. So my uncle came here from the Philippines first. So he's our eldest uncle. So he came here from the Philippines first, and to kind of start investing in real estate and stuff like that. He did really well in Philippines selling paper. So he was like a paper salesman who did really well. He wanted to start fresh and new in Canada. So he immigrated here and he started to invest in real estate. So he bought probably the worst commercial real estate you can buy, which are old gas stations. So he bought these old gas stations. He would buy gas stations, and basically no one wanted to rent out his gas stations. So he decided to start his own. He wanted to have something to lease out his gas stations. So he franchised Church's Fried Chicken. So Church's Fried Chicken in BC, all the franchises were owned by my family, my uncle, and he was kind of the owner of those franchises. So if you see, Church's Fried Chicken was formerly owned by our family or our uncle. And so basically, he was getting really busy. He got really successful. Like, these gas stations actually ended up being valuable pieces of real estate. And so he brought over his brothers and sisters from the Philippines to help him run the chicken shops and to help run the business. And so they were all working. And so my uncle bought a house, and then we lived upstairs, and they ran their business.
Cool. Yeah. That's great history.
Yeah.
So they're all the churches were all gas stations?
They were all a lot of them were former gas stations. So if you notice, like, they have like, parking lots and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's the shopping centers that they used to have a lot of Maxes in it. I think the only one that the Church's Chicken that's still in one of those type is on Main and King Ed. There's a little strip mall. I think they're called strip malls. Yeah, these strip malls.
Yeah.
Granville and 70th on the corner there. There's that little strip mall. Like, those types, pretty much probably owned by my uncle at some point in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So like, they ran their business, and there's 5 of them. So there's 5 brothers and sisters. They all work together, and there's 5 of us as well. So those 5 work together, and there's a lot of drama that happened in their family, financial stuff, other weird stuff. And so like, they all kind of broke apart, and they never were actually really close again after that. They all kind of
went and did their own thing.
Yeah, everyone did their own thing. And so, yeah. So we didn't really have a great example of what a family business looked like to get started. So that was that any like hesitation
to work with you?
Yeah.
Well, it was a coffee shop. So it wasn't, it's not like what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think that, on the flip side, we had an example from my mom where their family was always, you help out your family, you do everything to help your family, and their family business were always connected in some way. Although they all ran separate family businesses, there is an example of, you just are very generous with everything, right? And so I think, that first impetus of getting Michael to come on board to work at the coffee shop, and then my other brother was like, "Oh, you need a job, come work,
the boss.
come work at the coffee shop."
Yeah.
And then everyone started to break off and do their own things, and then it was Michael who started real estate first, and I think we talked about it a little bit in some past pods, but he started in real estate first, and I was like, I don't want to be in real estate. It's not really what I was kind of thinking about doing. I was, got my education in being a teacher, and I thought, I'm going down that path, and then I got interested in marketing. I'm going to go in communications path, and I loved restaurants. So it was kind of different. But at the end of the day, when Mike started doing real estate, he's like, this is great. You're going to love it. It's exactly, this is like a fantastic industry. You're your own boss, and there's an opportunity for us to work together. Let's do it. And I think there was some hesitation at first because I think, maybe thinking about our past experience with our family, I thought that at least for me, I should be able to prove myself and stand on my 2 feet first, because Michael was already quite successful. I mean, he was Rookie of the Year. He is a natural salesperson. I'm not so much. But, so at least in my mind, I decided for that first year, I really wanted to try to make it on my own and be able to, be good at selling real estate or being an agent, so that I could prove to myself at least that, it wasn't because, you just followed on your brother's coattails and that's why. And, I didn't want to have that.
Well, you faced a little bit of that at the brokerage before, right?
Yeah. At the first office that we were in. So, we shared an office, but Michael's mentor at that time, it was a 4-seater office. And so the mentor and Michael had been there working together for a couple years. And then here I come and I ask if I can take the extra office desk, which was my mom's, but she was already pretty much retired. And so I would sit at that desk and work, and he would tell me after, he's like, you better clean up all your stuff because this is not your office.
Wow.
So it was very like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you were like going to be nice to me, but he wasn't, And so, yeah, I think that I just kind of wanted to make sure that, I could stand up on my own 2 feet and kind of prove to myself that I could just do it by myself. So I took that first year and really just made sure, like, okay, here's my goal. If I can hit this, then it's good to go. And then we got a really good opportunity to work on a project marketing building together, a 50-unit mixed residential.
I don't know if you call that a good opportunity.
Okay. Well, I came at a bad time.
So Arlene and I, we joined forces. Arlene was working. I told, like, Arlene and I are like, we love we love these like divey restaurants.
Yes.
Arlene and I love like divey diners. Like there's these Hong Kong style cafes that are like hole in the walls are like nobody wants to eat them regularly, but Arlene and I would go there like every day. So
it's good value.
Yeah, good value.
And you get a free drink.
Yeah. Nice. So, we would like brainstorm about, what we wanted in life and like just talk about like everything at these diners. This is like, we went to UBC we went to university at the same time and college at the same time. So like, obviously we're really close. And so, we started, Arlene started independently first. And then we had an opportunity to work on a project marketing, building a 50-unit condo building in East Van, which is pretty big for a 24-year. I was 24. I think Arlene was 26 or something.
That's huge.
Yeah, we're just like, oh my gosh, this is a big job. So we got that opportunity. And what happened to the market, Ar?
2008. It was the fall of the crash of 2008, right?
Good time.
Yeah. So everything in the States, it's the mortgage crisis or the subprime mortgage crisis. And so everything in real estate in Vancouver stopped. So it's not like what it is right now. Like it was, listings would sit for 100 days.
It was if you sold your place before it hit 3 digits, you're pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're under 100 days, you're like, oh, I'm a star, man.
Yeah.
I'm a
you did a good job.
Yeah. Like if you're at 65-day averages, you're like, yeah,
this is
sold
good.
quick, 65 days.
Your buyer's tours was like 15 to 20 properties because there was so much available.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that was a long tour. We got to look at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But there was so much available. Right. So you had to like really work for your clients.
Right.
And so, yeah, we got that opportunity. And at that time too, then it was a double whammy because we got hit with that and we got hit with the Vancouver city strikes. So everything, all the building permits and all of that was holding up and slow. And, was the development going to happen or not happen? Who knew? Like, how long was it going to take? But yeah, we just, do what we always do and just put our heads down and just hunker down and tried to work with every single person that came into the sales centers. We opened later than every sales center. So
we opened 7 days a week.
We opened 7 days a week. We, most at that time, sales centers were always closed on Fridays.
Yeah.
We closed, and they were always closed at like 4. So we closed at, we're like, we gotta open till 6.
Yeah.
We gotta get the after work crowd. Right? So we were there 12 to 6, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
The whole kit and caboodle.
And there's this giant, as soon as we opened, there's another project that opened up like 2 or 3 blocks to the south of us from a major developer. And we were working with just a starting developer.
Tough.
And they had a huge marketing budget. Their marketing looked so slick, and we're like, "Oh my god, like, how are we gonna compete with these guys?" And like, I remember like putting up signs in front of their sales center, like point them into our direction. I'm like, "Okay, we can't." Like their show center. I remember telling Arlene, their show center is better than ours. Their staff is more experienced than us. Their marketing looks better. What do we have? And Arlene's like, we're here, man.
We got time.
Yeah, we got time. We'll just make sure that the experience of the people coming in was going to be elevated. And so we became friends with everyone that
it was like such a community. Like we built such a community.
Yeah, we built such a community.
If there was one thing about that particular building, like we knew every single purchaser. We knew it was such a great mix of people who were going to be in that building. I mean, that was, I think, a huge selling point. It's like we had teachers, we had policemen, we had like posties. It was so amazing. And that was something that we could tell people, like, this is like a great place for you to settle down, have a first home, that sort of thing. Because it wasn't an investor type flip type building. It was, you were going to buy into this wonderful emerging community.
Right.
Because Fraser back then was like, there was nothing.
Yeah. It was still kind of really like, the retail was really shady and like
there was no Fort Bourgeois, there was no Savia Volpe and all these cool places.
It was such a huge difference because we sold on Fraser and 20th, which was like, it's in the bog, which is like, the bog is, there's a bog in Vancouver, and when you sell in the bog, you got to drive piles down into the soil. And the other project wasn't in the bog. It was on and so all the clients would say, "You're gonna live in the swamp," and then like we would be like, "But the swamp people are cool." And like, you can be with us and hang out with us.
Did the developer know you were marketing it like that?
Well, we weren't. I don't want to say that swamp people, but then like we were there every day. And I'll tell you, like, I was just like every night I was just like stressed out. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe like we're just gonna fail. Like we're all screwed. And I have to say that working with Arlene was like the reason why the project was, so we sold out way before the completion. We actually outsold the other development, which was like shocking for us. And I know it's because of Arlene, because she just had such a positive attitude. Where did that positive attitude come from? It's annoying.
I know. Well, I think I told this story, but maybe I haven't. It's and maybe it's just a silly thing, but I think it's so much of a, it's your perception, right? So very early on, my mom told me, "Oh, and it's going to sound so strange and silly, but your earlobes are so fat. That means that you're going to have a lot of money in your life, or like you're going to have a lot of luck in your life." And so I was never allowed to have my ears pierced.
Wow.
And so in my mind, so ever since I was young, I was like, everything is going to be good in my life.
Is that if you got your ears pierced, the money would
like
leak
Robin
out?
Hood,
Oh, wow.
So I don't have my ears. That's the reason why I don't have my ears pierced. Wow. I wanted to, but I was always like, will I affect my luck? I don't want to.
Wow. So, and it worked.
So there you go. Yeah. So ever since I've been young, I'm like, whatever I do, it's going to be good. Whatever I do, it's going to work out.
That's one of those old wives' tales that actually like helps someone.
It did.
Restricts them badly. Like normally they're like, you walk on a ladder, 7 years, bad luck. Arlene's like, fat earlobes, you're lucky. But so like, obviously we went through that project together, which was like, and we've been working together ever since, right?
Yeah, I think at that point we had a very distinct conversation, and I remember, whether or not we would combine our resale businesses or not. right? It was a decision of, okay, let's do the project together and see how well we did and see if it made sense. And we're like, okay, well, this works. Like, we're quite different. There's a little bit of oil and water, but then somehow we
complement each other.
We complement each other well,
Yeah.
right? So, and then we talked about combining our resale businesses, and then it was, I think we even had some conflict back then because you had another partner, we had another partner we were working with at that time that at the end of the day, I didn't end up working well with, or I didn't work so well with.
Yeah. So we had another partner. It was someone from our office, also my girlfriend. So like at the time, and like,
That's tough.
yeah, it was just like, we just had like major conflicts.
Yeah.
So you had to choose between your girlfriend.
Well, it
and
was
I was
really
like-
tough. So we did have there
really
was a time.
conflicted.
Wow.
There was a time it could have gone a completely
Yeah, it
different
could have
way.
went a totally different way.
Yeah. So I think at that point it was that's probably the turning point. Is at least I think that was maybe a good thing, is that there was this conflict that we had
We had
off
to
the bat,
resolve it.
that we had to make a decision,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't this back and forth of were we going to work together, not work together, or I'm upset because of this, or it was kind of like, okay, this is either going to work or not work, and I was fine either way. I was fine to be independent
I
agent.
I was like,
Mike was a yin without a yang.
Yeah.
No, I'd be screwed without our.
No way.
Yeah.
You were already successful on your own.
I think but the thing is that because we are so uniquely different, so we both share, obviously we care deeply. We want the best for the people we work with. But I'm not a super detailed person, so I would make errors and mistakes and stuff like that, and people would just always be forgiving me all the time, like for like errors, like, oh, I forgot to do this, I forgot to do that, and so like there's elements of that. But I think that it all, I think a lot of people hesitate to do family business because they're weary of like kind of crossing lines and stuff like that. Have you thought about that at all? Or?
Yeah, and we went through that too. I mean, before, we're much better now, but before every family dinner, every family get together we would talk about real estate. Like
about work.
My husband hated coming to family dinners. Like, you guys, all you guys do is talk about real estate. All you guys do is talk about work. I don't want to go to any more family things because it's just, like the default is start talking about this deal or talking about what's going on. And he's just like, I'm just not into that, And so
fair enough. Yeah.
So I think we built some boundaries, like, okay, when we're together.
Yeah, so that's a big tip.
Yeah.
Is like building those boundaries.
Yeah,
Right?
build those boundaries about, okay, when do you shut off? It's about when's work talk and when is not work talk and stuff like that. So I think that was a big one. But yeah, I can't remember what we're talking about.
Well, we're just talking about some like tips for like people that are thinking, because it's funny. We just had Jackie Adler on, and she's gonna be working with her son Sid, and I know they're gonna have an awesome time working together. They're like for sure, they're gonna work well together. But like I think a lot of people, there's a few of the agents in our office who said, should I hire my cousin? Should I work with my friend? And so like some good advice to give to them, obviously setting some of those boundaries and really being clear on what those are, right?
Yeah.
And how those impact the others, right?
Yeah. I think boundaries are important. I think, and I picked this up actually from Ken and Mary's pod, is, even though your family, or at least family might make it easier, is that you share same common value set.
Right.
Right. And so, that of how you were raised and how you treat other people or those types of things as siblings, at least, I think it's easier because you already have more typically a shared value set. So it's easier to work together because you're like, yeah, okay, we think the same about this, or we have the same philosophy, right, about how to enter or deal with conflict or whatever it might be, right? So that makes it easier sometimes working with family. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think that when you can, I think it outweighs it in a positive way, because, you can really, like Arlene was saying, you understand their expectations a little bit better, but also at the same time, you there's that loyalty, there's that kind of like, we're in it together.
Yeah, your blood, that's it.
Your blood, and I don't know, if that's I think it's a good thing because we're really invested in it and we want to see each other succeed, which is like a really big thing. And something that we've been really blessed with. My mom taught us when we were growing up was to not like, we're like one unit. We're not comparing and competing with each other. We're like really like, we were really together, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's like you're on the same team. You're driving towards the same goal. But I think that at least what was good for me is I felt that I could stand on my own without my brother. I think sometimes maybe on a family business, if it's even father son or like if you're inheriting your parents' business, there's another kind of psychology of, did you really earn it?
Yeah.
Can you do it by yourself? Do I even like this, or am I doing this just because my brother or my dad or my parents want me to do that? So I think you also have to go through some sort of self-discovery to make sure that it's your choice, right? And once you decide that it's your choice and it's what you want to do, then you can feel really good about that. And it doesn't matter, I guess, necessarily what other people say or what their perspective is, or they look from the outside and say, oh, you're just riding on your coattails, your brother's coattails or whatever. It's like, no,
did you get that a lot?
I think I got a sense of that, because you were already like Mike was like the star in the office.
Star.
Everyone loves Michael, but then they go, "How did you get that listing? How did you get that sale?" I'm like, why? I'm just as good.
She's better than me.
I don't get it. I don't get it because they, I think they think like, oh, you just got it. It's Michael's client, or you just got it, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like. It's a little bit of ego maybe, but I think you have to feel satisfied that you're good at what you do, and regardless of what other people think. Because I think that is a thing in family business that it's really like
there's this element of, so it happened with my dad and his brothers and sisters. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is, and when you say that to somebody, it really hurts them. And like, I think, our uncle, who, I actually we have a great relationship with, probably, would probably regret having those conversations. But, I think there was that, I don't know if it was said specifically because we weren't there, but there was that sentiment. And I feel like that really is toxic. And so, I've always, and we've been taught as a kid, is that we're a collective, like we're a community, we're a family. So like, there's no elements of like, I don't have any elements of comparison or like who's doing better, like who's doing what. Like we have this, like, another philosophy that we have is this no counting philosophy, right?
Yeah. I always tell agents if they're gonna get into business together, it's sometimes you have to be able to draw the line. Like, yes, you have an agreement about what things are going to be, but at the end of the day, if you're obsessed with counting how much everybody's doing, what are you contributing? What are you contributing? I'm contributing more. That's toxic. That's very toxic. That doesn't propel anything. And when you have that mentality, then you're pretty much screwed. That's my opinion, right?
Yeah.
That because you're already putting out that maybe you're saying that because you think you're doing more, and then it's all about value, and it just spirals downhill from there.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's this analogy. There's a farm analogy, speaking of Yellowstone. So 1 ox can pull 1 ton. 2 ox pulls 5 tons. So like, and so like, which I totally believe in. Like, Arlene, Morgan, and I, and also all the staff, like we all work hard to grow the company. And sometimes like, our family, we don't celebrate anything. We're just next. But yeah, there's elements of that, with us in the, in the company now. Now Arlene and I work together at Oakwyn, and to see like the cool, like some of the initiatives we have and stuff like that. It wouldn't be the same without all the great people we have, and then us getting to work together every day. Yeah, it's kind of like, but it's fun. It's like, it makes it more enriching too, especially when I see like, Arlene and her family, and we get to like interject our work stuff with, like, Arlene told me a hilarious story. Licky, the story of Licky.
Yes.
Yeah,
do tell.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually
it is hilarious.
It's not hilarious. Okay, so you see, so family dynamics is so interesting, right? So my son has a fish. His name is Licky. And so what happened is my mother-in-law picked up my daughter Kate, and they went home and they looked at the fish tank, and Kate said, "Oh, Mama, Licky's dead." And so they found out that the fish had died. And so my mother-in-law said, "Okay, let's wait till your dad gets home to tell Lucas, because it's Lucas's fish, right? Don't tell Lucas." And she's like, "Okay." And so he gets home, and first thing Kate does is tries to protect him. "Lucas, don't go upstairs." And she puts his arms out and says, "Don't go upstairs, don't go upstairs." And he's like, of course, then you want to go up, right?
Yeah.
So he runs up and he goes, he's like, he thought there was a surprise or something. He sees nothing. He's like, "Nothing." And then she just goes, "Licky's dead." And then he just starts sobbing and he's crying, and it's his fish, and he's just so brokenhearted about his fish passing away. And yeah, and Kate's just like, "Sorry, dude." And she's 4. Okay, she's 4 and he's 7.
Right.
So yeah.
It's just that story just reminded me of when we were growing up.
Really?
Well,
I was like, well, how is that connected?
No, a bit of that's like a brother and sister dynamic.
It is,
right?
yeah.
And then that relationship that you they're gonna be able to tell that story when they're growing up and stuff like
Yes.
that. And there's that depth there, which is kind of really cool to see. And when you're working in a family business, like yesterday, for example, Arlene and I were at the office a little bit later, and we were with Alf, and we are just kind of hanging out and just it was just nice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I only see advantage, but then that element of not counting is a really big thing, I think, with family business, that you guys are really a collective, you're a unit, and it's really about not what every individual is doing, but what the whole is doing. Is the quality of work better? And I feel like people are so associated and attached to the results, and I would say that I'm a bit of a that I have a tendency to that, but I've now been really about this quality type of thing.
Yeah. If you watch Yellowstone, it's about
Yeah.
To bring it back.
Yellowstone. It's there's an element of selflessness because you're all driven towards something together. So in Yellowstone, it was preserving their family ranch. And for
Mhm.
us, it's growing Oakwyn, right?
Mhm.
And it's what can we all do together to continue serving the agents really well, changing the industry, doing those things. And we do it as a family, right? And I think that the other part of being in a family business is that you get to instill your family values and create kind of a family culture
Yeah.
between that's our internal team. It's our family culture
Yeah.
where we have people. Our other little sister is part of our conveyancing team. Alfred is our CFO. He was, we've known him since he was 6 years old. We've brought in people and Tiffany now, I've known her since I was 14 years old. She taught me how to drive.
Wow. Mhm.
All of these elements start to come together. And I think people feel that there's people there who are going to take care of them through thick or thin.
Mhm.
And I think that's what family is at the end of the day, right? You can depend on that person,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so
Do you feel any pressure,
of what?
to make sure that everything goes well or anything like that?
I don't know if it's pressure. I think it's just, I think if you're a mom, you just want to take care of everybody. I don't know if it's necessarily a pressure more than it's a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got a question. You guys said your little sister's your conveyancer?
Right.
What about the other two? Did they get into real estate?
No. So, one of them is, so our brother Alex is a commercial property manager. So he went in his own direction.
Cool.
So that's what I mean. I think, you don't do and see, and he's had an opportunity. We've asked him, do you want to come and work with us? I think it'd be
Right.
fantastic if he did.
Yeah.
But again, he's got to feel satisfied in that decision, and there's no pressure to come work with us. And hopefully he does. Hint, hint. Al, if you're listening, please come work with us. But if he doesn't want to, that's
Yeah.
great. And our sister is the CFO of Spud, the
Oh,
organic company, and we bring her in all the time. I ask her for advice.
She's our free consultant.
She's our free consultant
That's good to have.
all the time,
Yeah,
right?
wow.
So in those cases, we do still have our family involved in our business all the time.
And sadly, those two are the most educated and probably the smarter ones. My brother, both my sister Adrian and Alex, they're both MBAs. Adrian is also a CA accountant. And also my brother has done really well
Doulet
at
and-
school,
yeah.
like all this great like academic stuff. And here we are on the Oakwyn podcast. So it's really like we're just proud of them too. Like to, you know, it was just Mother's Day and we just had a dinner together outside, and it was just really like I was just so happy. Like, you know, Pri is like, you know, 8.5 months pregnant, like seeing Arlene's kids like growing up, and they were such like fantastic young people, and they're just like hilarious, and they're just like being kids, and they're running around. My mom is just like beaming from ear to ear because, you know, everyone is like, you know, doing fairly okay. And then my sister Adrian was telling stories of all this hilarious stuff. Like my sister Adrian is so funny, and then and then like we're just hanging out, you know, as a family. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's the family. That's
Yeah.
the family biz.
Yeah, family business. I think you know it does. I think you got to use your intuition too, right? Ar?
Yeah.
Like even though it might seem like, you know, we're kind of going over the top, you have to do it, but you got to use your intuition too, right? Have you ever like not gone with your intuition on something, or?
Have you?
Yeah, of course.
Have I ever not gone? No, I think that's intuition is a very important part of decision making and stuff like that. And you kind of know already. And you always, I find you always kick yourself after when you're like,
Yeah.
I knew it. You know, you have those
Mhm.
moments when you're like, if I just went with my gut, it would have turned out better or things like that. So I think for the most part, I use my intuition in decisions and things like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like when you don't, like, so for example, that we talked about that partnership that went sour.
Yes.
So Arlene and I were working together happily.
Yes.
Like for a year, 2 years.
Yep.
Happily working together. We were two of the top producing agents in our office. We're just like happily working side by side every day. And then, you know, I was like, oh, you know, the Richmond market, which we were working in, was becoming very like Chinese oriented. There's a
Mhm.
lot. Arlene and I were working in Richmond every day, and all of our listings were like Canadians, English speaking, but everyone that was buying our listings was
Yeah.
was Chinese speaking. They didn't speak any English at all.
Yeah.
So Arlene and I were having a real struggle to communicate with the buyers, but also I was like, if our business continues to happen, and like Arlene and I are Chinese ethnically, but we don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese.
Mm.
So we don't have like that skill set to be able to capture this new clientele that's going to come here. So I had this great idea of bringing on a third partner, which was Chinese speaking, that could serve that constituency. And you had an intuition. Arlene told me, she's like, this is a bad move.
Yes, I did. As big sisters do.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, she's
you
like-
probably said that a lot.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel right. Like I don't think, you know, there's nothing
wrong
wrong
with her. Yeah,
It was
she's
just
great.
the value. It's just different way of running a business and different way of different way of running a business.
Yeah.
And it
So we
just
explored it for about a year and a
and
half.
I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, we learned a lot from that.
and it was really valuable and good. But at the end of the day, I didn't. Did you have a good feeling
Well,
when
like,
that
see, the
happened,
thing-
or was that like a
I'm a bit more pliable. Arlene is really she is very intuitive, and I'm also intuitive, but I also like I like to look at the logic. I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense. Like this
Yeah.
is logical.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not. Sometimes I'm not logical.
I'm like this just
like
makes
fat earlobes, right?
Yeah. I'm like this makes sense. Like we can't speak Chinese. All the buyers are Chinese. When we want to get listings in the future and we can't speak Chinese, how are we going to get those listings?
That makes sense.
And
yeah.
I was like, you know, this would make sense to me. And so, you know, that was I did a cost benefit analysis, and, you know, but it ended up not working out well. But I think we learned a lot. And it was
We
a
did.
net positive. But that kind of contrasts to our partnership with Morgan.
Yep.
Right. Which, you know, I think that was something that you remember we had that conversation about like, what if it's going to be like, what is it going to be like?
What is it going to be like that time?
Other time.
When I
yeah.
get when it was not fun. I
Oh,
mean,
It was
you-
miserable.
That's the thing, right? I think you know when things are not going to work with partnerships, family business, when it's not fun.
yeah.
It was not fun. It was a slog.
Well, how did
It was
this
hard.
intuition feel after the first meeting with Morgan?
Oh, it was easy. Like we had
Yeah.
wine, we talked about life, and it wasn't really businessy. It was just like, okay, can I get along with that person?
Yeah.
Do we like, and I think even before Mike's like, oh, Morgan invited me to her wedding. I'm going because I have to sneak and get to know her family. Is she going to jive with us? Like he was spying. Like the whole,
Hopefully
like,
she's not
he's like,
listening.
oh, she knows this though.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
knows.
she'll know it, yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
pregnant. I was like, I wish I could go and find out. But Mike's like, no, I'm going to the wedding to find out if we could work with her because we
Right,
have to
yeah.
understand her dynamics with her
Yeah,
family.
we had the idea. Arlene and I had the idea of it. Arlene didn't know her as well as me.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
I had the idea of it, and then I just wanted to explore a bit more. So she shared that with Arlene. Yeah.
Yeah. And he went and he's like, I love her family.
Yeah.
He's like, they love each other. They really, really love each other. Like,
Yeah.
And it was like,
And
okay,
it was
then
something-
if that's who she surrounds herself with and that's who's around, then, I feel good about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's been such a journey. It's been such a ride.
Mhm.
Like if you were to do something, if you were to do something different, what would you do? Would you do anything different, Ar?
Like,
From a work perspective, from a professional perspective?
yeah, I mean, I always toy around like about, because I worked in cafes and restaurants growing up. It's like, should I open my own cafe? Should I?
Still might happen.
I don't know, maybe, like, should I open that and just go back to my roots of, what made me, go through school and I really enjoy baking and cooking and serving people and making them happy with food. Like there's so much of that. And then, so that's like maybe in a distant future or who knows, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I think it's a root element, like it's serving people, making them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Which I think is really a lot of. It's really a lot of fun to kind of explore and what you like to do, right? So, yeah, but it's so funny the kind of how life turns out, because even for myself, I didn't expect. I wasn't like Morgan was like, I want to be a realtor, and she knew she wanted to be a realtor, and she's a realtor, and like that wasn't my case either.
What
right?
did you want to be?
Well, I was going to be a lawyer. I think that was more Dad's dream.
Mm.
Yeah, because my dad wasn't. Educated in a sense. He was really, really smart. My dad was a super smart guy, smarter than me for sure. But like he kind of envied lawyers and professionals because he never had a chance to be educated in a sense, or where he didn't choose to do that. And so he kind of nudged me in that direction when I asked him what I should do. So I was on that track. And then he was like, "Oh, Mike, I'll introduce you to like my friends that are lawyers in Ontario, and you'll do this. This is the type of law you should do." And I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And then after he passed away, like I knew that like I wouldn't have the connections and stuff like that, and so yeah, I made a change, right? And I'm happy with it though. I'm really, really happy with
I
it.
couldn't see you being a lawyer.
Really?
No.
I was on my way.
I feel like I'm more of the lawyer now. Weirdly enough.
Yeah.
But no.
No?
No.
Can't see it?
No.
I think I would be good at it.
You're a very systems guy, which is, I think, maybe good for being a lawyer.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I'd be happy doing it,
Yeah.
but like I feel like I think I have because I enjoy reading and stuff. I don't know, like maybe we'll
Yeah.
see. Well, it's too late now. I'm not going to be a lawyer.
Yeah, never know.
I'm host of the Oakwyn podcast, which is much more enjoyable. And the time's just flown by. Or is there anything you want to kind of add or?
No, I mean, if you're thinking about being in a family business, just, really think about it for yourself. And, if you have fun, then go for it.
Yeah. And you know what? And what's the best way people to get in touch with you are, if you want to learn about Oakwyn or learn about family business or.
You can email me at achiang, ACHIANG at Oakwyn, OAKWIN.com.
Okay, guys. Thanks, R, for being part of the pod.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And on that note, guys, thanks so much for listening to the Oakwyn podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, do us a favor and rate us 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to it on. And sorry, I'm like, what is was it? Oh yeah, and if you're interested in Oakwyn as well, go to www.oakwyn.com/join and type in the message box pod 2021.
That's right.
And you'll receive a free piece of
mystery swag.
Oh yeah. Okay. Till next time, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.